Do you remember newest Borea, little 4? Do you remember the story of your ancestors? Do you remember why you're here? How your species came to be? You must remember the fight. 251 million years ago. Not too long ago, Earth had faced its worst extinction yet. Many didn't make it. But eventually, the Earth recovered, and for the first time in a while, things were stable. You may know this time as the start of the age of reptiles. You may know this time as the dawn of mammals. But the survivor that we will follow is different. Neither a mammal nor a reptile, so obscure that it's basically unheard of. This is Borea synops, one of the last remnants of the Therocephalians. Unlike its many relatives from the Permian, Borea and its kin had a more herbivorous diet. For millions of years, Borea led a simple life. But eventually, times changed. The world changed. Slowly, the populations of all Therocephalians dwindled. It appears that this is the end. Therocephalians would never leave a legacy like their Cynodon counterparts, at least, not in our timeline. But there are endless timelines, endless opportunities for survival, and in this one, it was Borea's time to shine. It's Borea's time to innovate before it's too late. Competing with herbivorous Cynodons has been a struggle, but what should this Borea do? It is desperately hungry, and these Cynodons are simply better at munching on plants than it is. The Borea realizes it has nothing to lose, so it takes drastic action. It strikes. Normally the only animal matter Borea consumes are eggs and carrion, but its sharp canines and incisors combined with a decently powerful bite makes it possible to go for a killing blow. The Borea digestive system isn't particularly well adapted for plants, so it wouldn't be hard to make meat a larger portion of its diet. And that's where this timeline splits from our own. In one timeline, Borea synops would have gone extinct, not even living long enough to be the last of the Therocephalians. That honor would go to Microgomphidon, a close relative that still didn't make it past the Triassic. In another, the 04 timeline, the circumstances were just right and the species was able to adapt just in time to continue forward. But things don't last forever. Eventually, poor Borea synops would inevitably become extinct. But this time, it left a mighty descendant, Borea lactifera. Bigger, brawnier, and better, this is what a truly omnivorous Borea looks like. Some of its teeth have sharpened into points as seen in its carnivorous ancestors. Its incisors have shrunk, making room for larger canines. Borea lactifera also has a trick up its sleeve that's been inferred to be in its ancestor. Milk, or more accurately, a nutritious fluid analogous to milk. Borea's skull suggested it was able to move its lips forward in order to suck, which would allow them to feed on their mother's milk. A fascinating example of parallel evolution. Such behavior will be preserved forever in the holotype fossil of this species. Now, what will happen to Borea lactifera as it thrives in its ecosystem? Stay tuned for episode 2. The 04's evolutionary journey continues, and we are now in the late Triassic. Now's a good time to check on how Borea lactifera is doing. Our little lion has exploded in population since its existence, being one of the most abundant Therocephalian species to ever exist. At least until the 04 came along. Being willing to eat anything from ferns to eggs to dinosaurs has really helped Borea lactifera take over the globe. Unfortunately, things will go wrong for Borea again. This is the very end of the Triassic, and that means the Triassic-Jurassic extinction has begun. Maybe growing bigger wasn't the best thing for Borea to do. And with that, the Borea genus was gone. Forever. Sort of. You see, a smaller subspecies of Borea lactifera was able to make it by learning how to specialize. They became proficient at digging up Cynodon burrows in order to consume the inhabitants. Eventually, they would have been practicing this habit for so long that they'd come out the other side nearly unrecognizable from their ancestors. A new genus, Cyanops, named after the critter that started it all. Cyanops was a lot more carnivorous than its ancestors, but they still enjoyed munching on things that weren't a part of the small synapses that made up a majority of their diet. With mammals and their cousins being abundant, Cyanops was able to make it into the Jurassic period. Some of its descendants doubled down on their mammal hunting lifestyle, becoming extremely specialized for slinking into burrows. Others didn't go through any major specializations and kept a more generalist lifestyle. Cyanops also has an important feature, the beginnings of ear pinnae. You see, both cynodonts and advanced therocephalians were beginning to reduce multiple bones in their jaw. This can be clearly seen with Borea, where the mandibular takes up a large portion of the lower jawbone. Similar selective pressures led to similar adaptations, and as a result, Borea therocephalians have begun to evolve a mammal-like middle ear and pinnae. Even with all these innovations, therocephalians are still in a tight spot. They have to compete with cynodonts, and the rise of the dinosaurs isn't making things any better. Mesozoic therocephalian diversity was rather low for millions of years, leading to huge gaps in the fossil record. We are lucky to have cyanops because this therocephalian shows the first true step in becoming the modern 04. This genus lasted for a good few million years, but now the trail has gone cold. Who knows what therocephalians would have looked like in the amount of time we have to skip to reach the next 04 ancestor. A beast with round eyes with diminutive size and paws that act like hands. It has a triangular opossum-like face and it won't go without leaving a trace. This is Borea. Its name is rather self-explanatory. Despite coming from a lineage of increasingly carnivorous therocephalians, Borea still kept a quite diverse diet, although meat still made up a large portion of it. They reproduced quickly and had large clutches, which allowed them to be able to repopulate before the predators could eat them all. Now, Borea gives quite important insight on how therocephalians evolved from the time between it and cyanops. They grew smaller, gained better ears, and were overall becoming more mammal-like. But how did these things even compete with mammals? Well, the answer lies in their metabolism. Therocephalian metabolism has always tended to be lower than cynodonts, even with the highly active modern 04. However, Borea had another trait that would have given it an edge when it came to competing for resources. The ability to lower their metabolism even further during harsher times. A very valuable trait that, though it wouldn't exactly persist beyond the Mesozoic, proves to be one of the determining factors for the survival of the Borea lineage. Even with these small, seemingly insignificant creatures, new traits continue to arise. By the Cretaceous, some members of this lineage would develop a peculiar saliva that has somewhat of an anticoagulant effect. Eventually, this would evolve to be much, much more. We are now in the late Cretaceous. The final stretch is near. As hinted in the previous episode, the therocephalians were up to something special. From a mere anticoagulant saliva to a truly dangerous cocktail, the baurioids have now developed venom. Such early toxins are capable of evolving into a variety of forms, such as a paralytic, horribly tingly neurotoxin, a necrosis-causing cytotoxin, or something that can cause blood to flow freely with no end, a hemotoxin. Our first star of today's episode is sort of a mixture of the first and last two, which allows it to be able to hunt down large insects and small vertebrates with terrifying success. Meet Prima Venudon. Prima Venudon was a humble creature. They mostly hunted speedy critters at or below their weight class, and they only ever bit anything larger or significantly threatened. When compared to the beasts that will come later, they're rather innocent, despite the potential that they held within them. Things appeared to be stable for the beast heads, the first time in millions of years. This venom has really paid off. Yes, venom can be a potent tool for hunting the small and evasive, but it is expensive and cynodonts are still ravenous beasts. Their high metabolisms allow them to once again out-eat the therocephalians. It seems familiar, doesn't it? Like a tale told from eons ago? It's as if the Boreas are back where they started. Therocephalians at this time are more diurnal and a bit less fossorial than their foes from the same branch. Another one of the small disadvantages that will inevitably make a huge difference in the future. But what, do you think they just stand there and take it? Do you think after millions of years of fighting for their place in the world, they just let themselves fizzle out? No, that's insane. If they were going out of this world, they go out with a bang. So after trial and error, 23 million years, a steep decline in population and hundreds of iterations, something special has arrived. One of the most fearless therocephalians to ever live. Borea. Borea's aposematic markings aren't just for show, for these beasts are hostile and the venom causes extreme agony when bitten. Even larger predators steer clear of it. With extremely potent venom, they are able to hunt and kill prey that's much larger than them. All they have to do is pounce, bite, and wait for their prey to bleed themselves dry due to powerful anticoagulants. Their favorite prey are the eggs and offspring of dinosaurs, being devastatingly effective at hunting them. They also fed upon the larger Mesozoic mammals with a fierce determination, a true menace of northern Africa. With nothing else to lose, the surviving therocephalians rebounded for only one thing: vengeance. And vengeance they got. But one spring day, it all came crashing down. A meteor slammed straight into the earth, hurling dust and ash everywhere. This might be the end of our story, or the start of a new one. Borea feels as if it has completed its purpose. Its vengeance has finished. It drops and it takes what seems to be its last breaths. Its muscles relax, its vision blurs, and what was once a wild and fearsome look on its face becomes something docile. It is at peace with its fate. It has done everything it could. But as it closes its eyes, it sees something. A beast that it has never witnessed, but one that it recognizes. Borea, why do you give up? The coral borea is a bit startled, but answers back. I'm tired. So tired. There's no point in letting this continue. Our lineage will never have the success that we had before the catastrophe again. It's hopeless, ancestor. You can't give up. I went through hell trying to survive this planet, to leave a path for my descendants. But what is the point if we have lost so much? From feared beasts of the ancient times to creatures that are doomed to be oppressed by our own gluttonous kin. What do you think I fought for? For us to be the biggest and the best? To conquer the globe and take over everything we could? The reason that we fought was simply to exist. To survive in a world that time after time tried to wipe us out. But how can we keep up the fight now? The entire planet is ruined, the sun is gone and the land is covered in a dark fog. There isn't enough of us to get through this, even our kin from the different realms. Your kin who have lost their birthplace are a disgrace. They've become like the dogtooths in every way besides name. That is why I came to you. What can I do? I exist only for vengeance, to have a final go at the beast who drove us to the brink. But now that the meteor struck, there is no purpose for me anymore. Borea, just because your original purpose is obsolete doesn't mean you can't find a new one. I can tell that deep down you still have a fire that burns within you, and that is why I want you to complete a very special mission. What is it? Eons ago I wished upon a shooting star. It may have been millions of years, but maybe I wish it come true. It is my last hope. Our last hope. A wish? What do you think a wish is gonna do to save us from impending? It doesn't matter what I think, there's nothing else to lose. If it doesn't work, it doesn't, but if it does, it changes everything. Now go! With a sudden burst of energy, the coral borea ran across the land as fast as it could, chasing the star. Borea's lineage is brilliant. Its lineage is truly resilient, able to outshine the hottest of supervolcanoes, the brightest of meteors, and the most dark, depressing eternal winters. With a newfound purpose, the coral borea realizes that it wants Borea's dream to stay alive. It wants Borea's lineage to thrive, no matter what it takes, despite the high stakes. The last synapsids, descended from beasts headed cerapsids, will survive. Novaboreia, 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 yeah. Novaboreia, 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 Novaboreia. And with that, we are now in the Cenozoic. 66 million years ago, post-impact. Now we're at the final stretch. Meet Novaboreia. Novaboreia is a very special critter for multiple reasons. Not just because it's very colorful for a synapsid, not just because it was born from the wish by a long-dead beast, but because it caused a split in the Boreid family. This grouping should have been promoted to beyond a family rank ever since Cyanops diverged from Borea, but the classifiers were lazy and instead there's a new tribe that encompasses the Cenozoic or anatomically modern Therocephalians. Novaboreia. Defined as all Therocephalians descended from Novaboreia, this is a crown group. The most important defining trait that these Therocephalians have is their gait. These beasts sprawl no more, going from a semi-erect to a fully erect posture. Novaboreia, while not as venomous as the coral borea, still retains some terrible toxins. Its bright fur was caused by the very nature of this genus' creation, and also served at aposematic colors. Being an omnivore with an unspecialized body plan, Novaboreia could take any path it wanted. The path to recovery was difficult and long, but by the time the Paleogene ended, Novaboreia had evolved into a variety of species. Too many to cover within this series. One branch of Novaboreia decided that they still wanted one last shot at being megafauna. This branch led to the existence of a beast so big that its size exceeded that of any Cenozoic predator, being the largest predatory synapsid to ever exist. Megaboreodon. The giant Ophora technically isn't an Ophora at all. Since Megaboreodon isn't a direct ancestor of the Ophora, I'll keep this quick. These beasts are so large that they entirely lost their venom. Fossil evidence suggested that they actually grew rather slowly, taking at least 6 years to grow to adult size. They had paws that are superficially similar to the Ophora, but much wider and non-retractile. They used powerful arms to pin down prey. Fossilized seaweed show that they were born much more developed than the offspring seen in Novaboreia line Neoborans, being able to walk moments after hatching. Alas, being such a huge predator, the Megaboreodon genus was a mere blip in the timeline, just another one of the many short victories the Therocephalians have had before once again returning to the status quo. The other branch, subtribe Novaboreia, decided not to go the megafaunal route. Instead, they learned to climb for safety and better access to food. Meet our Borea. A nocturnal adept climber with semi-retractile claws, this guy showed that we're getting close to what we can consider truophores. Consider the teeth. They seem to be in a transitional state of the blade-like shears seen in earlier beasts in the single-fused surface they are in the Novaboreia genus. Their wrists are flexible and their paws have pronounced ridges. Their combination of arboreal features and small size allow them to exceed squirrels in arboreal agility. And one of the best things about living in the trees is fruit. Free, tasty calories. Some studies suggest that fruit made up anywhere from 30 to 50% of the diet of Borea, but some beasts always crave change. Some members of the species realized that retractile claws weren't just good for climbing, they were also good for catching prey. The forests are clearing. There aren't enough trees, so they went back onto land. In a short time, they became just as good at hunting during the day as at night. Their paws went from semi-retractile to fully retractile, from fully plantigrade to semi-plantigrade. They went from mesocarnivores to hypercarnivores, and became new once more. 3 million years ago, the light at the end of the tunnel can be seen. Changing times require a change in lifestyle, but the indecisive Borea just doesn't know what it wants to do. Borea's wish guarantees that it and its descendants will have ruined this planet, but there has to be a greater purpose for all of this, right? And the best way to find it is to divide and conquer. So Borea split herself into two halves, each half embodying the potential once held within her. Both of these halves will be known as Novaboreia, a name of identical meaning to that of the now long gone Novaboreia, but for different reasons. One of these halves was the swift half, Novaboreia gracilis. A speedy, skinny, low-slung beast, it relied on its agility and venom in order to tackle even the fastest of prey. Borea's nimble nature. The other half was the strong half, Novaboreia felinops. Its legs were longer and its body much more muscular. Its venom was weak, but with its hunting style, it didn't need venom. Borea's ability to grapple and brawl. Collectively, they're known as the therocephalians. They each had their strengths and weaknesses, benefits and drawbacks, and they lived in different, yet nearby areas. Life went on. It is important to note, even with Borea's wish, the baurioids are not above the ecosystem. Their population can still decline and even disappear from areas. They are still affected by disease, predators, and competition. Our swift Novaboreia is an efficient predator, but it is a weak and fragile animal. Nearly any opponent will have an easy time bullying and stealing food from them. They are venomous, but they aren't built to fight and can be easily killed before landing any attack. They also have trouble against defending their nests against large predators for this reason. Many have seen a huge portion of their clutches consumed without a second shot. Even if they lay enough eggs to ensure the survival of at least a few, it hurts. Our strong Novaboreia is great at hunting large prey, but the thing is, it's slow. It is bulky and far less controlled than the carnivores it has to contend with. They are able to defend their kills, but if they stray too far while defending, it can be taken from right under their nose. They lay less eggs and aren't as good of diggers, but can scare off most egg stealers. However, taking a single egg of this species has a similar effect to taking multiple eggs of the other therocephalian. Even if you just lose one egg, one baby, it hurts. Eventually, after countless losses, it slowly constricted the range of both species, and they finally crossed paths. The therocephalians were different enough in lifestyle that they didn't compete. They coexisted peacefully, but they couldn't stay separate for long. They are more genetically similar than one would expect. They can mix their genes to create offspring that's often fertile. Their potential size difference didn't matter too much due to how they mate, and since they both be outclassed by other predators otherwise, they only had one option. So two halves came together once more. And the result? A creature with the best of both worlds. A body powerful, but also flexible and agile. Things that are strong enough to kill on their own, but can be enhanced with a hint of venom if needed. A mother that can lay lots of eggs and defend them all. A mother that remembers what happened to her mother's offspring, and her mother's mother's offspring, and now refuses to let that happen. Not again. Not without paying the highest price. Not exactly their parents, but not exactly their own species. These hybrids are more than the sum of their parts. And the only step left to a truly perfect union is time. The foal is a truly special animal. The last vestige of a lineage that has persisted longer than any synapsid group ever has. Though it is a single species, its mere presence on this earth shows the sheer resilience of its kind. However, the odds of these beasts surviving into the present day seem almost impossible. Of course, their survival throughout the Mesozoic is reasonable enough. They hid in the shadows like mammals and fed on them too. But something just seems wrong about their survival as a KPG. It doesn't add up. Immediately before the extinction event, the only therocephalian that was present in Africa was the Borea, a carnivorous, venomous, rather specialized animal. After the extinction, there was a global dive for the Therocephalians. Seemingly out of nowhere, Novaboreia appeared in the fossil record, with all the adaptation necessary to survive the cataclysmic event. Strangely, the skull of Novaboreia is noticeably more basal than the Borea, despite the skulls of Mesozoic Therocephalians showing a trend towards increasingly derived characters. The re-emergence and retention of these basal traits is how we were able to pinpoint the ancestor of the Diaphora in the first place. We have checked our fossils, analyzed bones of those species, dated them, and several postcranial features indicate that Novaboreia evolved from the Borea. How is this even possible? Animals can't evolve identical basal traits that have been lost for so long. It would be insanity to try and find a biological explanation for this. This is far more than just a simple atavism. But if science can't explain it, what can? Novaboreia, 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 Novaboreia. And now that we've made it to the end, it's time to turn back the clock one last time. Give it up for Borea, Cyanus, Borea, and Primavenudon, Borea, Novaboreia, Novaboreia, yeah. Arboroborea, Neoborea, Neoborea, Neoborea? Neoboreia, 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 talking God. 600,000 years ago. Some might say that Therocephalians are worse off than they've ever been. They've been reduced to just one singular species and one singular area. But R04, the one of the name Toxicodon, is the result of combining two complementary parts. Time has passed, and now the mixture is complete. Their populations are booming, their range expanding, they're thriving. But this continent that they've called home for so long isn't enough anymore. Sometimes offies, babyophores, curious clumsy creatures that wander without aim, may get too close to the shore. And sometimes, whether it be due to tides or a storm, an offer can get pulled into the water. Surprisingly resilient little things, many of them are able to swim up to the surface, but only some of them can find something to cling onto. Luckily, this massive wood and other vegetation is large enough to comfortably hold multiple offies, and potentially any prey that tries to get a quick rest. Their destination? Europe. But they won't be seeing that place for a long time. But once they and many other Ophores set foot, they'd basically be an invasive species. They'd wreak havoc for a while, the population booming in a new area this time, but the native fauna would adapt and eventually so did they. The Ophores would become a bit smaller and duller to better blend in with their environment. That's how the Eurasian Ophore came to be. The Ophores of North and South America came from two separate events. North American Ophores came from Europe, and South American Ophores came from the original Ophores in Africa. In South America, they grew a bit smaller, but still larger than the ones in Europe, and their fur became far smoother to reduce drag when swimming. They are also the only subspecies to retain the eye markings the original Ophores had. The Ophores up north had lots of fun. They grew bigger, meaner, and more social than their European ancestors, and their fur became a rich orangey brown. Both ended up being massively successful in their new home, which is partially why the Americas hold the record for the highest amount of Ophores today. Ophores traveled to Oceania through Asia and found their own little world. Due to their nature of living on a few rather small islands, they never grew large in size of the population. Maybe if they made it to Australia, it would be a different story. And the Ophores that stayed in Africa became what we would recognize as the African Ophore. The Ophores have done it. They've made their mark on every continent on the globe. This would be the end of our epic tale if it weren't for one particular species of primate. Modernish times. Ophores were elusive creatures until humans started to form cities. They thrived in man-made environments, and in the wild, many larger predators across the globe ended up being extirpated from their original range. This allowed their populations to grow fewer limits, leading to over 20 million Ophores and counting. Now, they are the most numerous medium to large carnivores on the planet, and they are likely the most abundant Therocephalian species that ever existed. Though they only represent a singular species, the Therocephalians are oppressed no more. Due to a combination of their abundance and being considered by many to be among the most unique animals on the planet, people have been inspired by the Ophore in many ways. Folklore, books, memes, and baby of 4 baby of 4 baby of 4 baby of 4.
Imaginary incendiary.
Oh, fur, the alpha Pokemon, a psychic and poison type.
Creature powers.
Go hunt, let's go hunt, let's go hunt, let's go hunt.
Flip flop, squiggle boom, slim slam.
Oh, final, the eternal sea Pokemon, a psychic and poison type. And much, much more. It's been a while, hasn't it? An incomprehensible amount of time has passed between now and the first beast heads. They started out as sprawling, sparsely furred beasts with simple minds. But look at them now. Barely recognizable on the surface, but if you look just a bit deeper, their roots will be clear. They are Therocephalians. The earth is a cruel, cruel place. Though it grants the opportunity of life, it is indifferent to it. Species, genera, families, orders, classes, phyla, even whole kingdoms could go extinct if the planet proves particularly hostile. No animal has been able to overcome it. All lineages are destined to end someday. But is it due to some inevitable fate, or the fact that no beast has tried hard enough? No beast was able to break free from the shackles under the laws of evolution. Not ever. But in this timeline, that is far from the truth. And that alone is worth celebrating. The O4 is a creature of many talents, and with those talents they can do anything they can put their mind to. Though it is separated by millions of years of evolution, the O4 is the revival of Borea and the rebirth of Therocephalia. The possibilities are endless. Mammals, reptiles, birds, amphibians, fish. These are the 5 commonly accepted classes of vertebrates. But there is one branch that stands alone, a unique group that's all on their own. Neither a mammal or a reptile, but something in between. Once thought elusive, now it makes quite a scene. The creatures whose ancestors fought through fire and fear, trying to survive just 1 more year. The creatures whose ancestors dealt with great oppression before they retaliated with formidable aggression. Part of a lineage revived due to an eons-old wish, they spread through the world by surviving off fish. The Therocephalians were once in a bond that had been reduced to one species, the last of their kind, a lonely creature fighting an evolutionary war, a courageous creature that's fierce at its core. The last archaic synapsid. This is an O4.